Hi, this is the left-handed right-winger again. I want to talk to you this time about a prediction I had made for this election that seemed to have come through very much of the ways that I thought. My candidate didn't win, but it does play into that a little bit. But essentially what I noticed was in 2008 and in 2012 that before the first debate, really no one polling below 5% either really went on to win anything or really even not even become the nominee. I don't think that's ever happened when they're polling that low. Also, not to mention, too, I noticed anybody polling below 10% at the time of the Iowa caucus, at least on national polls, never went on to be the nominee and not even really come close. And that's a big reason why I said from the beginning, it's like really no one polling below 5% should have been in the first debate. And from what I saw, that would have included Governor Chris Christie, who dropped out right after Iowa. I don't think he even bothered into New Hampshire. I might be mistaken. But even still, he'd probably drop right out after New Hampshire. Carly Fiorina, I'm not even sure she made it to New Hampshire. She might have tried Iowa and then tried New Hampshire. Governor Jim Gilmore was out before that. Lindsey Graham was out before them. I do think Rick Santorum, Senator Rick Santorum, did try his hand in Iowa, but I obviously he didn't do well. Governor Bobby Jindal was out before Iowa. And George Pataki was out before. Governor George Pataki was out. And Governor Rick Perry was out before Iowa. So, I mean, it made sense. Like I said, they were polling below 5% at the time of the first primary, the first debate. There was no sense in them bothering, and it shows. The only exception to that was Governor John Kasich, who I just think he kind of stuck around longer than he should have. And he got lucky in a few places, particularly his home state of Iowa, because as the field weaned down, he was the only other person there. But he really had no momentum to build on, because like I said, he was already in this 5% racket. So he was never going to pick up any of the momentum that Trump had, or anybody else, Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or anyone was running against him. And that goes to another point, is in the same way too. No one polling, as I said, with no one polling above 10% at the time of the Iowa caucus, Iowa caucus nationally, not the Iowa caucus polls, but nationally, should have bothered at all, because the same thing happened. Pretty much anybody polling below 10% never really had a chance. And like I said, it really should have been Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and Donald Trump duking it out until the end. And I think we might have seen a different race had they, been forced to go head to head against each other. Narrower field, changes things up. It may not have changed anything. Like I said, I'm a fan of Scott Walker, and maybe he might have had a better shot in a wider field. I will concede, though, that Donald Trump, part why he's president now, he kind of stole the show. And I guess maybe that's what Scott Walker kind of saw the writing on the wall, and just kind of bowed out like a lot of others did. That's not to say, though, that, there's the fewer people fighting for that one spot, it can make it tough. Look at the Democrats. I think Bernie Sanders did give Hillary Clinton a run for her money because he was the only other one there. And he did put up a good opposition to her, when we could debate whether or not she stole the election from him. But it looks like, narrower field does make it more of a fair playing field. And people that really aren't really standing up against the others really should, not waste other people's time and make it a harder race. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not a fan of the two-party system at all. I'd rather just have a series of elections where we rank all candidates from greatest to least, regardless of their party. And we have a series of elections like that, and we take losers off each subsequent ballot till we get down to two people. And then those two people would go run in the standard electoral college, or in the electoral college I mentioned in the last video, which is an expanded version of it. Because I would really like to see that. I'd really like to see us do a much more, less party focused. Washington was an opponent of parties. He didn't want us to form factions, but we did. But he even saw it during his presidency. It was kind of happening. The Federalists and the eventually the new, what they call the Democratic Republicans, they call themselves the Republicans. So even though the historians will now tell you the Democratic Republic at the time, they did call themselves just Republicans. Out of George Washington's administration. And that's where the idea of the parties came from, even though they really do make more problems than they should. And like I said, I think a situation like this, if we're going to have a two-party system, fine, it is what it is, but we should do something to wean down the fields early on. And I stand by 5% before the first debate. Don't even bother. Go home, drop out. You don't have a chance. Come the Iowa caucus, if you're nationally polling less than 10%, just don't bother. Don't even bother. Go home. Let somebody else have a chance to beat someone else that you may not like in the field. I don't know if it would have. I mean, Trump, he definitely brought a good game to the table. It may not have changed anything, but it would have maybe kind of put a different angle on the whole election. Kind of seeing that, maybe he would have changed some of his tone a little bit, and maybe some people might have liked him more during the primary season. I don't know, but like all in all, I'm happy that he's our president for now. But I do like to think that we try something different the next election cycle. And like I say, 5%, first debate, don't run. And lastly, before the Iowa caucus, 10%, drop out, get your name off the ballot. Anyway, have a good one, and stay tuned for the next video.